2008 was a very big year. There was the housing crisis in America. Winning the U.S. presidential election, Obama said change was coming. It's also the year Orcus returned to the fourth edition of Dungeons and Dragons. Standing at 15 feet tall, he's covered with goat-like hair. He's a humanoid with a ram's head, goat-like legs, and a long tail with a poisonous tip. And his home is from the abyss. But that's not the Orcus I want to talk about today. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. The Greek word for pale is chloros. Its meaning is green or yellowish pale. A popular teaching in that regard is the green horse brings sickness because green would be like a feeling of green. However, if you look at the root word, it means Chloe or a green herb. The name Chloe means a young green shoot blooming or fertility, derived from the Greek word chloros. My understanding of green in the sense of the horseman is less like this and more like this. While looking into this verse more closely, I saw a few things I wanted to share. Specifically, it's the portion that says his name that sat on him was death, and hell followed with him. Let's look at the words death and hell more closely. Death has to do with the death of the body or having a future in hell based on the meanings. Some of the definitions for hell is the name Hades or Pluto, the god of the lower regions. Also, Orcus, the netherworld, the realm of the dead, as well as the latter use of this word, the grave, death, and hell. In biblical Greek, it is associated with Orcus, the infernal regions, a dark and dismal place in the very depths of the earth, the common receptacle of disembodied spirits. Usually Hades is just the abode of the wicked, a very uncomfortable place. The name Pluto is derived from the Greek name Pluton, meaning wealth giver, because wealth is seen as coming from the earth. The name Hades is of Greek origin, taken from the Greek term Hades, meaning unseen. Those two names together bring to mind 2 Corinthians 4:18. While we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are unseen are eternal. Orcus was the second meaning of the word hell. Orcus was a god of the underworld, the punisher of broken oaths in Etruscan and Roman mythology. As with Hades, the name of the god was also used for the underworld itself. Eventually, he was conflated with Dispater and Pluto. A temple to Orcus may have once existed on the Palatine Hill in Rome. It is likely that he was transliterated from the Greek demon Horkos, the personification of oaths and a son of Eris. And if that name Eris sounds familiar to you, it's been in the news recently. The origins of Orcus may have lain in Etruscan religion. The so-called Tomb of Orcus, an Etruscan site at Tarquinia, is a misnomer, resulting from its first discoverers mistaking a hairy, bearded giant for Orcus. It actually depicts a cyclops. And this is Orcus, the god of the underworld. I read online some people like to go into the mouth and they eat and drink in there. Other people like to make growling noises, and the way it's constructed, their growl seems to be emitting from the face itself. This tomb has two different chambers, as you can see in the diagram on the right. It's a 4th century BC burial chamber discovered in 1868. Orcus is also the name for a minor planet. Online it says this is Orcus's planetary symbol. It reminded me of some other similar looking logos. Orcus and Dispater were combined in subsequent traditions. Dispater is also known as Rex Infernus or Pluto. The prefix dis is Latin, and it means apart, asunder, away, or utterly. Several dis words have been in the news recently. The word pater means father. This tomb is located in a place called the Sacro Bosco. That means sacred grove. Sacred groves were mentioned in the Bible. Isaiah 66:17 is one of those instances. The New Living Translation says those who consecrate and purify themselves in a sacred garden with its idol in the center, feasting on pork and rats and other detestable meats, will come to a terrible end, says the Lord. Another is 1 Kings 14:23. For they also built them high places and images and groves on every high hill and under every green tree. This place was also colloquially called the Park of the Monsters. A temple to Orcus may have once existed on the Palatine Hill in Rome. The Palatine Hill in Rome is one of the 7 hills of Rome. Specifically, it's the most center part of the 7 hills. Remember in Revelation, it says, "Here is a mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth." The New Living Translation of that verse says it's 7 hills. It's 7 mountains or 7 hills, but this is what it looks like. The Palatine Hill is in the center. There's a number of sculptures in the Monster Garden. 2 of them are sirens. If you remember, we did the video talking about the sirens in Isaiah. The tomb of Orcus in this Garden of Monsters has an inscription above its upper lip. In English, that inscription means "all thoughts fly." Obviously, the lip and the forehead are different things, but that reminded me of the verse, "Upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth." This is a close-up view of the inscription on the upper lip. You can also see the table on the inside where people go inside and they eat and drink. So multiple Orcuses, but it says Orcus's realm was Thanatos, which was believed to be the 333rd layer of the abyss. That has to do with the Dungeons and Dragons, Orcus. I noticed Blue Letter Bible's word for death is the same place where Orcus is living in Dungeons and Dragons. I looked to see what's upcoming for Dungeons and Dragons. On May 21st, 2024, they're releasing the Eve of Ruin. You can read it in full if you like, but it says they are weaving a ritual to eliminate good, obliterate the gods, and subjugate all worlds. It will be interesting to see what happens May 21st, 2024. So far, the only thing I have written down is that was 1,260 days after this happened. But nonetheless, the Eve of Ruin will be released on that day. July 16th, 2024, Dungeons & Dragons is releasing quests from the Infinite Staircase. The staircase reminds me of Jacob's Ladder, angels of God ascending and descending upon it. This one says it has a noble genie named Nafis who hears wishes. The word Nafis is Arabic and it means breathing. In Islamic theology, it refers to the soul. This is the sculpture of the siren or the mermaid in the Park of the Monsters. This one I thought was really interesting. It looked very familiar to me, and if you notice, it seems to have shackles on its wrists. It reminded me of what's called the Green Man. He was on the invitation for the coronation of the former Prince Charles. But once again, no matter what happens, let's keep our faith and our trust and our focus on the one who created us.